I remember the exact shade of crimson the sky was painted that evening, a forewarning perhaps of the chaos that would unfold. The day had started off unremarkably enough, with the usual rush to get ready for work and a hurried kiss goodbye to Daniel, my soon-to-be husband. Daniel and I had been the picture of a perfect couple, at least in the eyes of our friends and family. But there was a secret that gnawed at me, my affair with Alex. It was a flame I thought I could control, extinguish at will before anyone got burned. The plan for tonight had been simple. Alex and I would meet at my place for what was supposed to be a quiet evening, a few stolen hours before reality beckoned us back. But as I ushered him into the living room, a horrifying sight met my eyes. There in the dimly lit space stood my entire family, Daniel, my parents, his parents, even my cheeky little sister Lila, all with expressions ranging from shock to disappointment. I stood frozen, my mouth agape, as Daniel stepped forward, an unreadable expression plastered across his face. "Surprise, Jenna. We thought we'd give you an early wedding gift, a family intervention." My heart pounded against my ribcage as murmurs of confusion and betrayal swirled around the room. Alex, caught in the crossfire, his usual confident demeanor replaced with a deer-in-headlights look, managed to stammer, "Jenna, you didn't tell me." "I didn't think I had to," I replied, my voice a mixture of defiance and despair. My mother, always a peacemaker, attempted to smooth over the sharp edges of the moment. "Jenna, we are here because we love you. We want to understand why. Why this deception?" Before I could answer, Lila, who never had a filter, chimed in, "Yeah, Jenna. Why would you risk everything for him?" Her gesture at Alex was dismissive, hurtful. The room felt suffocating as every pair of eyes drilled into me, awaiting an explanation I hadn't fully formed myself. I knew I owed them the truth, yet the words tangled up on my tongue. That's when Daniel did something unexpected. He turned towards Alex and extended a hand, his voice calm. "Alex, would you give us a moment alone, please?" Alex nodded, a silent agreement to exit the brewing storm. As he left, Daniel closed the door softly behind him, turning back to face the collective bewilderment of our families. "Everyone, please sit down," he said, "more to our families than to me. We need to talk this through like adults." As they obeyed, a semblance of order returned to the room. Daniel's next words, however, promised that this evening was just the beginning of an unraveling story. "Jenna has made a mistake, but there's more to this than you all know. Let's listen first before any more judgments are passed." The tension slightly eased, giving me a sliver of hope that maybe, just maybe, I could mend the fractures I had caused. Yet, I knew deep down that the evening's revelations were merely the opening act of what was bound to be an epic confrontation. The room was thick with a tense silence, punctuated only by the soft ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. I looked around at the circle of expectant faces, each of them a mix of curiosity and concern. Daniel cleared his throat, signaling the start of what was sure to be a grueling conversation. Before we all jumped to conclusions, Jenna told me about her feelings and struggles last week. "We've been trying to figure this out together." My father, a stern man with eyes like steel traps, leaned forward, his voice low but firm. "And you believe that keeping this quiet was the best option, Daniel?" Daniel nodded slowly. "Yes, sir, because we thought it was a personal matter. Something we could handle on our own without bringing pain to everyone." My mother, always the heart of our family, reached across to squeeze my hand. Her gesture was a lifeline. "Jenna, honey, we just want to understand. Can you help us do that?" I swallowed, feeling the weight of their disappointment and the gravity of my choices. I started feeling trapped. Like I was walking down a path someone else had chosen for me. Alex was a mistake, a big one. But he was also an escape. "I'm so sorry, everyone." Just then, the front door slammed, startling us all. Into the room stormed Rachel, my best friend since childhood, her eyes fiery with indignation. "I just heard, how could you, Jenna? After everything, Dana's been nothing but loyal to you." Rachel's arrival was like a spark to tinder, igniting a fresh wave of chaos. My sister-in-law, Sarah, who had been quiet until now, stood up, her face flushed. "You think feeling trapped justifies hurting everyone around you? What about Daniel's feelings?" Daniel held up a hand to silence the growing clamor. "Enough. Attacking Jenna isn't going to fix anything. We need to deal with this together, as a family." Alex reappeared at the doorway, his expression somber. "I owe you all an apology, especially you, Daniel. I should have never let things go this far. Daniel looked at him, then at me, his face unreadable. Thank you for saying that, Alex. Now please leave. We need to handle this as a family. As Alex nodded and turned to leave, I felt a strange mix of relief and desolation. With his departure, the reality of the damage I caused settled heavily on my shoulders. The room quieted down, everyone sinking into their thoughts. Daniel's mother, a wise woman with a gentle demeanor, finally spoke, breaking the reflective silence. Let's not let anger guide us. We are here to heal, not to hurt further. Her words seemed to calm the storm slightly. Daniel squeezed my hand under the table, a silent message of unity. We have a lot to sort through, but we're going to do it together. As everyone nodded in agreement, a fragile hope began to take root in my heart. Perhaps through the wreckage of my actions, we could rebuild something stronger. But as I looked at the faces around me, I couldn't help but wonder what else would come to light as we tried to mend the fractures. The journey ahead was uncertain, and I knew that this chapter was far from closed. Morning light streamed through the curtains, casting a harsh glare on the remnants of last night's confrontation. The living room was a battlefield of abandoned tissues and coffee cups, testament to the emotional upheaval that had transpired. As I moved to tidy up, the front door creaked open, and in walked my brother, Mark, his face a mask of concern and fatigue. Jenna, I came as soon as I heard, he said, dropping his bag and pulling me into a hug. His embrace was comforting, a reminder of simpler times. I didn't want you to find out this way, Mark. I'm so sorry, I murmured into his shoulder. Pulling back, he fixed me with a stern look. Let's not dwell on apologies now. What's the plan? Before I could respond, the sound of gravel crunching under tires signaled more arrivals. My heart sank as I peeked through the window to see Uncle Rob and Aunt Clara stepping out of their car, their expressions grim. As everyone settled in the living room, the doorbell rang again. To my surprise, it was Lydia, my work colleague and friend. Her unexpected presence was like a cold splash of reality. Jenna, I know it's a family matter, but I thought you might need a friend, Lydia said, her eyes full of unspoken questions. Thank you, Lydia. It means a lot, I replied, feeling the tension in the room thicken. Daniel, who had been silent most of the morning, finally spoke up. We appreciate all the support. We really do. But Jenna and I need to figure out some things on our own. It's time we address the future. Uncle Rob nodded, his voice grave. Daniel's right. But Jenna, we're here because we care. Don't shut us out. The conversation shifted as everyone began to voice their concerns and suggestions. It was Aunt Clara who, amidst the rising cacophony, brought a semblance of order. Enough. Let's be constructive. Jenna, what do you need from us right now? I took a deep breath, gathering my thoughts. I need to make things right with Daniel first. Then, I think I need some space to figure myself out. This affair wasn't just a mistake. It was a sign that I'm not on the right path. Daniel nodded, his hand finding mine under the table, a silent vow of support. And I'll be here, whatever you decide. But I also need honesty from now on, no matter what. The room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging in the air. Lydia then stood up, her presence suddenly more pronounced. If you're looking for honesty, Jenna, maybe it's time you all knew more about what's been happening at work. It's not just personal, it's about her professional life too. Everyone turned to look at me, their interest piqued. I felt a mixture of dread and relief. Yes, the layers were peeling back, and while it was terrifying, it was also necessary. This was more than just an affair. It was about my entire life unraveling, asking to be rewoven into something honest and true. As the family meeting turned into a session of revelations and planning, I realized that this was just the beginning. There were more secrets buried, and more truths to confront. But with each confession, I felt lighter, ready to face whatever came next. As the days stretched into weeks, the atmosphere at home became less charged. The relentless tension that had once gripped our household began to dissolve, replaced by a cautious optimism. I committed to individual therapy while Daniel and I attended couples counseling together. It was hard, grueling work, but necessary. One brisk Saturday morning, Lydia invited me for a walk in the park. A chance to catch up outside the shadows of conference rooms and the pervasive whispers of colleagues. As we strolled beneath the budding trees, Lydia's earlier words about my professional life echoed in my mind. Lydia, you mentioned something about work affecting my personal life. What was that about? I probed, wary but needing to know. She hesitated, looking around before leaning closer. Jenna, there's talk that the company is facing a takeover. Stress levels are off the charts, and well, I think it's been influencing everyone's decisions, yours included. I stopped in my tracks. A takeover? Why didn't I know about this? Lydia shrugged. It's been kept under wraps, possibly to prevent a panic. But it explains a lot of the recent pressures, doesn't it? It did. The unending deadlines, the heightened scrutiny, the subtle shifts in executive meetings. It all made sense now. As I pondered this new information, my phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. Can we talk? There's something I need to show you at home. Anxiety knitted my brow as I excused myself and hurried home. What now? When I arrived, Daniel was waiting in the living room, an envelope in hand. His expression was serious but not upset. Jenna, before you say anything, just look at this. He handed me the envelope. Inside were documents, legal papers, and a letter with a corporate letterhead. It was a job offer for Daniel, a significant position in another city. I've been keeping this to myself while we figured things out, but I think this could be a fresh start for us, away from all the bad memories and pressures here, he explained. I scanned the documents, my mind racing. Move away? Are you sure? Yes. I love you, Jenna, and I think a new environment might be what we both need to truly start over. The idea of leaving everything behind was daunting but strangely liberating. What about our families? I asked, voicing the only concern that tethered me to hesitation. We'll visit, they'll visit. We'll make it work. But right now, I think what we need is a new chapter, just us. I looked into Daniel's eyes, seeing the man I fell in love with, who despite everything, was willing to work through our stormiest seasons. This was the surprise, not a dramatic confrontation or another revelation of betrayal, but an offer of redemption and rebirth. Okay, let's do it. Let's start anew together, I agreed, feeling the pieces of my fractured life fitting back together in a new, hopeful pattern. As we embraced, I realized that life doesn't always give you the story you expect. Sometimes it gives you the story you need, and as we stood there together in the quiet aftermath of our reconciled world, I knew we were stepping into a story of forgiveness and forward paths. A story you would write together on a fresh, blank page.